Hello, Contrarians, listeners, watchers, subscribers. Here we are with the latest Contrarians After Hours. And this one is an Irish one in the sense that it's green. Green Room. Not Green Book. We did Green Book back.
Is this coming out on St. Patty's Day or something?
No.
Okay.
But St. Patty's is April, right?
No, it's in 2 weeks from today.
Oh, well, then
Which is
very
it's
close.
March 3rd right now. Yeah, so.
Very close. No,
I was going to be like, man, you're trying too hard here.
No. Green Book, I was saying we did Green Book back in the days when we didn't have video, and it was a whole new ball game because it was pre-COVID. So now, post-COVID, we're doing Green Room about Anton Yelchin and his merry band of punk rockers facing off against Patrick Stewart and his merry band of neo-Nazis. 90% on the Tomatometer. It's very fresh, which means that we're going to be picking it apart on the main feed on Contrarians Corner before we tell you how we really feel. But here on this video, we are going to just give you a few Rotten Tomatoes quotes, fresh. We're going to talk about the trailer. We're going to talk about some extra trivia that didn't make it into the episode, and of course the Josh Gad Minute. Maybe not in that order, but let's start, Alex. Let's start with the quotes. Have the consensus here. A fresh movie. Green Room delivers unapologetic genre thrills with uncommon intelligence and powerfully acted elan. Not Elon, elan. Have you ever heard that word? I had to look it up.
Was that ELEN?
With a tilde, with like an accent on the E.
Interesting. Flair, stylishness, smartness, elegance, grace.
So this is back when the consensus was not done by AI. It was like an actual person crafting the consensus.
Google pronunciation is telling me it's pronounced Elon, so we're both learning something here today.
Okay.
Energy, style, and enthusiasm. Yeah. Back when someone had to show off their vocabulary, which I respect. I try to do that when I can too, so I get it.
Yeah. Well, Elan. Sure, there's lots of Elan in Green Room from all parties involved, racists and non-racists. So, first quote, Alex, like I said, these are all fresh. We're going to start with Dan Scully from Cinema 76. It says, a grimy punk siege masterpiece that would make John Carpenter proud. Hot on the heels of our Halloween Resurrection episode, which wouldn't have made John Carpenter proud, but would have made him some money. How do you think the father of the Halloween franchise would feel about Green Room?
I think that's an interesting name to pick. If you wanted to do something, I think Wes Craven might be an interesting pick. You know, like I could see someone making some homages or comparisons rather to Last House on the Left with this. And so, I mean, either way, I think someone's just searching for a horror mastermind to cite here.
I'm trying to think if Carpenter is as explicit in the depiction of violence as Green Room is. Because I know, I mean, his movies are violence, but right, like a lot of it happens off screen or is, not as in your face as this. I'm mostly thinking of Halloween at this point, but then even like stuff like Escape from New York,
Ghost from Mars.
I was trying to avoid that one because that one.
I'm just thinking of movies we've done previously. I mean, They Live's a good example of a movie there's no like in your face violence, but a lot of people die in that movie.
The Thing has its graphic moment.
The Thing, but yeah, that's kind of part of it, is its practical effects and violence.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll email Nick Hassett and tell him to. I
think the point of it is with the Halloween obviously kind of being an outlier, but John Carpenter specialized in like the sci-fi, the fantasy / horror, not something like this that was extremely grounded in reality.
Yeah, I can see how this is not. This is very realistic, and so maybe that's the kind of thing that you would think of with some of the Carpenter movies. Well, no, didn't he do The Fog too?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of like what's the gritty, realistic John Carpenter movie?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Escape from LA.
I mean, Escape from New York, depending on how you want to approach it, I think there's we're not too far off from that these days.
All right. Well, I like the Wes Craven comparison. So I called this guy by the wrong name, Dan Scully. Let's email Dan Scully and tell him to amend their comparison here on this review.
10 years later.
Yeah, why not? And then Nick Hasted from the Arts Desk says, "Our Blue Ruin announced Saulnier. Green Room is his career breakthrough." Saulnier, Jeremy Saulnier, the director, writer-director of Green Room, also writer-director of Blue Ruin. We talked a little bit about Blue Ruin in the episode just because I was giving Alex my history with the director, how I watched Blue Ruin and I was not impressed. But the rest of the world was. And that's a good thing because then Saulnier went on to make bigger and better things. Blue Ruin sounds like a movie that you might enjoy more than me, Alex. So I do look forward to you eventually taking that step backwards in the Jeremy Saulnier journey, watching Blue Ruin before you spring forward and watch his other two movies that were Netflix releases, Hold the Dark and Rebel Ridge. So, but this is, Blue Ruin overall, like it's a good starting point, and it's like an indie movie. It doesn't have like any big names that I can remember, and then of course Macon Blair, who's the protagonist, goes on to be one of the main characters here in Green Room. Do you remember having like that experience with other like directors where you kind of caught them at the beginning and then you just saw them grow bigger?
I mean, yeah, like Judd Apatow. I was watching. I mean, it's true. I watched like his TV projects and shit, and there's a director that was involved in the game before I got on the train, but definitely have seen what he's done to ruin the medium of filmmaking. But
so that one, you would say that what is the breakthrough? What do they call it here? The career breakthrough. Is it the 40-year-old virgin?
Well, yeah, 40-year-old virgin. I mean, that kind of because that was released kind of around the time The Office started. The American Office. Yeah. So like Steve Carell obviously was launched from that, and then Knocked Up, I think, with how much money that movie made, that kind of solidified 40-Year-Old Virgin is not a fluke. There's got to be other ones I'm blanking on. I mean, just based off Good Time, I remember like owning the Safdies going into Uncut Gems. Like,
well, there you go. That's a good one. That's a good one because that would be the mainstream breakthrough, right? The Uncut Gems, not Good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to think because I'm thinking Tarantino. No, I got on the train with Pulp Fiction and then I went backwards to Reservoir Dogs. Kevin Smith. I think I started with Chasing Amy and then I went backwards to Mallrats and Clerks.
Watching the ascension of Nolan in our lifetimes has been pretty fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that most people would tell you, like the Nolan bros or whatever, would tell you that unless you were there for following, you really have no business saying that you were there at the beginning.
Not Memento?
No, Memento.
That's Poser's territory?
Yeah. Memento had Guy Pearce, had
Carrie-Anne Moss,
and Teddy, who's Pantoliani, Joey Pants. So
Titus Sinclair, yeah.
Yes. That's the mainstream breakthrough. No, you do following so you can do Memento. I wish I could think of a director. I'm sure there's a few, or maybe there's some that we're following right now that 10 years from now, some people, we're recording this the night after the Oscars, some people will tell you, man, I was with Sean Baker from Takeout and now he's on top of the world. And I can't say that. I can only say, hey, I like Takeout.
Yeah.
And I just watched it last year. Anyway, food for thought. Just remember, who is your Jeremy Saulnier? Who is the director that you caught early on? And then
there's a lot of people in our age bracket that would say Wes Anderson. Starting with Rushmore, and then they would go back to watch Bottle Rocket. But I guarantee there's a lot of people in our age range that saw Rushmore and have seen every single movie he's done since then.
Yeah, but then the true ones are the ones that started with Bottle Rocket. They're like, yeah, catch up. By the time the people got to Rushmore, they already knew what was up.
But his two best movies, so
I'm just glad that you like some of them, Alex. Those are the quotes. Let's move on to the trailers. Do some trailer chatter. We just watched the trailer, Red Band, because this movie deserves the Red Band treatment. Was it cursing? Did they drop an F-bomb
Yeah.
or two? Okay.
Cursing and violence.
The violence I knew. Even though I never... Oh, it shows the arm breaking. Would that be enough to...
Right at the end.
Yeah.
No, it shows the victim being stabbed in the eye. Like, it shows the aftermath of that. And I think there's, like, gunshots and shit that go off. Paints it as a different movie than it is. Again, if you've not seen this movie, I can't really explain to you what to expect. But, like, this paints it as almost like... paints it like Last House on the Left. Or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in the sense of, like, these kids ended up in the wrong place. Now they're being hunted one by one, which is kind of what happens, but not really. So it makes for... it does a decent job of explaining to you what the story is, but not really. It doesn't nail the mood, and then it executes one of my least favorite tropes of commercials, promos for television, and trailers for movies of the past 20 years, where they use some melodramatic cover of, like, a famous song. In this case being Bad Mood Rising by CCR. I have no time for that in my life. And yeah, so I was just like, eh. And then it's like doing it in time with all these quotes about the movie and shit.
What do you think of Machete Sharp? That was the one that caught my eye.
Depends on what kind of machete you're using. I don't know the last time you sharpened it was. Personally, I don't think it does enough to stress that Patrick Stewart's like the bad guy in this and how evil of a dude he is.
I was surprised that we didn't get a shot of his reveal in the movie. Like, that reveal that they do in the movie, it seems like it was made for the trailer. It almost made me wonder if the Green Band trailer maybe features that shot. And it's just that the red one has a little, because they can get away with more, they just put more of the violence and the...
It's the voiceover of Picard going, "Evening, Commissioner," and they reveal his face.
How do you feel about the trailer for Social Network with the cover?
There are exceptions to the rule. Okay. There are exceptions to the rule. But, like, they'll make these TV spots, like these reality TV shows, or like some new TV show that it's like some fucking Lord wannabe singing a cover of, like, Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over, like things that just make no fucking sense. And here it's like, I guess, but, you know, do something original.
Is that just that it's too expensive to get the original, so it's cheaper to pay for a cover?
It must work in some capacity, because, like I said, that's like a constant in commercials, any type of advertising, television spots, movie trailers now. That's what I loved about the fucking Iron Claw trailer, is they used Tom Sawyer, but they used the real Rush Tom Sawyer, the one that Carrie Von Erich used to come out to. And, like, they timed things in the trailer with it. I had a friend I worked with at the movie theater in college, Michael, who hated that. He hated when the trailer, like, synced to a song. And I remember the trailer for Hellboy 2 had Mein Hens Brenth by Rammstein, and it was in time with, like, the gunshots and shit going off. And I remember we screened a movie together, and he was just, like, cursing at the screen, yelling, like, "Why? Why?"
I remember you brought that up when we talked about Baby Driver. Because Baby Driver does it in the movie, not in the trailer, but in the movie.
Whatever Baby Driver does bothers me way more than the things I've been talking about for the past few minutes. I'd watch this fucking trailer 10 times again before I watch Baby Driver. But anyway, yeah, it's it makes it intriguing. The problem is I've seen the movie. If I just saw this, my annoyance aside of that musical trope, I still would be like,
was that Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, exactly. That seems a little bit different. And then I would watch it and be like, oh, it's even more different than I thought.
I was annoyed that they showed the arm break. I was amused that they have
the over the shoulder shot of the dog.
Yes. Dragging the collar, the leash. That is a head scratcher, but maybe not if you're just watching the trailer. It's a head scratcher in the movie. And I think it was clearly they needed. Here's the thing, and this is what really my main takeaway. It's a 90-minute movie, and the plot is very simple. So you have to be very careful to not have a trailer that gives away everything, right?
Yeah.
So that means that you have to be very creative with what you put in the trailer. and you need to keep up the pace and everything. So at some point you're like, fuck it, just put the shot of the dog because we don't have anything else. Just, you see the dog, you see like the box cutter, and I guess they don't. There's a couple surprises left. They don't show you the thing with the arm, with the other arm. Had to yell.
They definitely don't establish how easily everyone's killed off in this.
No, but you know that somebody dies because Patrick Stewart has a line that references somebody being dead or bleeding out, and you have another shots of the dogs actually being threatening. So
yeah, I think it does a good job of establishing intrigue without really giving too much at all away. Because as we all know, you don't pull a Watchmen. You don't make a trailer so good that your movie can't possibly live up to it.
What if the end is the beginning is the end had played instead of this cover at the
No, they would have to play the beginning as the end is the beginning, the sped up version that was the opening track of the Batman and Robin soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, I would have been all in.
Yeah, well, it's a good trailer.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. It maybe makes it look a little more action packed than it is. It does get that way, but I think it takes about an hour for the movie to hit that crescendo. And probably if you watch a few movies, you expect that when you start watching it. So, all right, high marks for the trailer. Let's move on to the Josh Gad Minute. Alex, do you buy Josh Gad as a punk rocker?
No, but I also don't want to buy him as a Nazi. So, I was thinking about this today because I knew obviously this was going to come up, and I was really trying to. We do love Macon Blair in this, but that to me, the Gabriel's the really one that makes sense for him, because of course you buy Josh Gad is like questioning why he's in this lifestyle that he's in, and he possibly ends the movie with the story of redemption. You don't really know. If you want to take the funniest possible route, he could be Big Justin, the bouncer.
Closelining Imogen Poots.
Either one of those two, or I think the obvious role. I wouldn't keep the mohawk on him, but he's the reporter at the beginning of the movie that hooks him up with the gig.
That's what I was thinking. But I was going to ask you, how do you feel about Josh Gad with a mohawk?
We could do something else. We could dye his hair like jet black, slicked back, or something like that. Or wow, fuck, what's his name? Lead singer of Social Distortion had that like really good comb over that still, kind of gets him like a neck tat on him or whatnot. We'll be all right. We'll be in business.
And he can shave his eyebrows.
Yeah, or like a couple notches in each of them.
I like that. I like that, especially because that character gets like a callback shot at the very end when everything is wrapping up and you see him cleaning the apartment. He has no idea what's happening. He still thinks his cousin is coming to visit. It's there's that'll be fun because it will get us a Josh Gad that we haven't seen before and spares him from all the violence and the bloodshed. It doesn't make him a Nazi. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Macon Blair, your job is safe, at least for now. You can keep the character of the Nazi that has second thoughts about everything. So that was the Josh Gad Minute. Now let's go to trivia. Alex, what have you dug up for this movie that didn't make it to the episode?
Written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. We'll get to just a minute. This was kind of an important project to him. Starring Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots, Elias Shawkat, and Patrick Stewart as the bad guy. Premiered at Cannes May 17th, 2015. Got a release on April 15th of 2016. It is an A24 movie. Of course, in the years, Spring Breakers was the first one that I think people... There still seems to be that weird thing that some people don't understand. A24 is just a production studio. I think it's like a label you put on a movie. It's like, oh, it's an A24 movie. But this was an A24. Like I said, post Spring Breakers, but before that came along with like a certain level of expectation, dare I say. Budget of $5 million, box office return of less than $4 million. Film came from Saulnier's desire to create a thriller set in a green room, calling the idea an obsession. He created a short film set in one as part of a 48-hour film challenge in 2007. This involved supernatural. The supernatural, and according to Saulnier, was really kind of fun and hammy. However, he still wanted a chance to do his green room movie, quote, the right way. Although the film features a large amount of violence and what he calls full frontal gore, he has gone on record stating that this is not sadistic, and that every act of violence, apart from the initiating incident, is done with a reason. He made sure there were no gratuitous close-ups of recently deceased characters. That's true. And also, we talk about in the episode, it is violent, but not fucking Eli Roth trauma type violence where it's just like eyes flying out and squirting everywhere. And it's also not S. Craig Zahler violence, because we make sure to take a dig at fucking dragged across concrete and that.
Yes.
So.
Jennifer Carpenter would have been treated a little more respectfully in Green Room.
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah. I can see it that I still think that some people would balk at the amount of violence in this movie, and I wouldn't blame them. I can see how he's like, look, it could be worse.
Pretty unsettling seeing Professor X getting shot in the head.
Yes. But there's a lot of bad things that happen to innocent people, and that's always kind of disturbing. Even if you could have shown us more gore, like, okay, there's no close-ups, but there's still like a lot of fucked up shit that happens here.
Patrick Stewart says, "Ah, shit, I shot Marvin in the face." Part of this, though, was Jeremy Saulnier, I guess, saw where his career potentially was going to go after the reception that Blue Ruin got, and really wanted to make this movie because from what I read, if I understood correctly, basically in his mind, if his career continued to advance, he wouldn't get the opportunity to necessarily make this movie due to like how violent it is, and may not be offered the opportunity to make it. And it's also bleak is the word he used to describe it. And he also didn't want the opportunity to like sell it. He wanted to make it himself. So like he felt like this rush to get it made following the positive reception of Blue Ruin. So if 10 years from now we're talking about him winning, best director, editor, best picture, whatever, we can circle back and say, well, at least he got to make this movie the way he wanted to make it.
Yeah, when he wins for his romantic comedy, we're like, listen, he was hardcore once upon a time. It's kind of unfortunate, I guess, if that was his intent, that he kind of misled all of us with the color theme. You have Blue Ruin.
I did read something about that. Like one of the things he said, it was just a coincidence. I would have said like it was my plan, and then fucking the studios robbed me of my artistic integrity.
Yeah. Blue Ruin, and I think I said on the episode, it's pretty violent. It's not. It happens less often, I think, than in Green Room, but when it happens, it's usually pretty graphic and intense. So I mean, it's not like they're completely different movies. And I think it's bleak on its own. It's kind of weird. Fuck, I think maybe not so much Rebel Ridge, but Hold the Dark is also really bleak. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, yes, he didn't want to go down this path, but he ended up down this path anyway, or whatever he thought his career was going to be after Blue Ruin. Turns out that it wasn't, or maybe because of Green Room, he just went down the bleak path. That's fascinating. I remember reading an interview with Stephen King, or maybe it was his autobiography, where he was talking about how, so he did Carrie, right? He wrote Carrie, and Carrie was the thing that was his mainstream breakthrough. And then he had other like horror stories, and he was showing his agent, and his agent was like, well, be careful, because you're going to become the horror writer.
Yeah.
And King was like, I don't care. I want to get paid. And now, I mean, yes, he is mostly known as a horror writer, but I think first and foremost, he's Stephen King. So I think it worked out.
After like The Rock, or was The Rock or Armageddon first? Either way, after one of them, Michael Bay's agent being like, careful, you're going to become the blockbuster guy.
And so he rushed to make Pain and Gain, but he couldn't get the financing.
Now he has 10 houses. I think he's doing all right. And then, I realized that we gave an answer in real time. A director who we followed since the beginning. We've literally talked about all of S. Craig Zahler's movies on here. So we started from the bottom, which was really the top.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what's next. Sir Patrick Stewart said in an interview that when he finished reading the script at his country home in England, it was so terrifying that he locked up his house, turned on the security system, and poured himself a scotch.
Aww.
He knew that he wanted to play the Darcy Banker role because a character that horrifying would be an incredible challenge, and it made for a compelling movie. So he was on board. We already joked about it on here, but in the episode, the kind of readjusting it requires to be like, God damn, that's Patrick Stewart. He's a bad dude.
I love that he had that reaction. He's obviously the big name in the movie. Anton Yelchin obviously was on his way up, but I figure when you're trying to secure financing, getting Patrick Stewart on the cast as the main villain, that's the thing that probably closes the deal for a lot of people. So,
especially in 2015, because those X-Men movies were still thriving.
Yeah.
2014 was Days of Future Past, so they still had a lot on the docket.
Yeah, he's
right.
Oh God, you are a lot better release years.
It was because Apocalypse was 2016. So yes, coming off of Days of Future Past, the X-Men franchise was doing all right, or it looked good on paper, I should say.
Yeah. And he was probably trying to break away from the nice guy image of Professor X.
God, that fucking movie. Apocalypse, that is. Yeah. And then closing, we talk about it, I circle back to it several times in the episode. The paintball story is a real story, a real anecdote from Saulnier, the director here, who said that Rick Silva was a real person who it was like a real story. He wanted to just work into it. So I thought that was pretty funny. For the purposes of those who haven't seen it, that's one part we won't spoil because it plays like this. It comes up a couple times and you kind of get invested in hearing this story about Rick Silva.
Yeah, Anton Yelchin's Oscar clip, probably. That's got to be weird. I mean, I'm assuming if it's somebody that he's close with, that he asked for permission or at least gave him a heads up, right? Can you imagine you go see a movie from a guy that you worked with, I don't know, 20 years ago, and suddenly he tells the story of Alex Mattis, and it's a story that happened in real life?
Like, whoa. Depending on who I'm with, I'm like, we should probably get out of here before this goes much further.
So we went to Vegas, right? And this guy, Alex Mattis, name and last name. All right. That was our warm-up for Green Room. It's where did we watch it? Amazon Prime, right? We both got Amazon Prime. It's streaming places.
Yeah, it's a good amount of places for rent currently.
Yeah, it's not a hidden gem. It's not one of those that you have to dig deep to find. And it's a lot of fun if you're into ultraviolence and thrills and stuff. Coming up next, we are switching gears to a movie that we don't really know much about other than it's rotten, and that is The Son, starring Hugh Jackman. Perhaps as the titular son? Maybe he's the father?
He's son one.
Yes. We'll find out, but it's rotten.
No, he's a son. He's not the son.
Oh. Maybe there's several sons, and it's about a competition to see who becomes the son.
That's the Iron Claw.
But anyway, that's rotten. So watch it and then listen to us praise it. Try to make it sound good. Maybe we'll both like it. I don't know. Neither of us has seen it. I know I watched The Father, the previous movie, and I don't think, like I said in the episode when we talked about this as coming up, I don't think they're related, but maybe they are. I just know it's the same writer, same director, and Hopkins won an Oscar for The Father, so maybe Jackman thought that he would win an Oscar for The Son.
Was that the one where he wasn't there?
Yeah,
like okay.
Yeah, it was COVID, I think. It was
okay.
They had that ceremony where it was just like a few tables and then Hopkins sent his video from wherever he was, far away from America,
from all of this badness.
Yes. But anyway, watch Green Room, watch The Son, watch The Father. Why not? because we'll probably reference it quite a bit in the episode. And then listen to our show whenever it comes out again. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you again soon.